Thanks for joining us. It's Dylan here with my co host Greg, and we have our guest Robin Hardrick joining us to go over her AI art exhibits and her history as an AI artist, what she's been up to, and really excited to highlight all the work and share this with the audience. So, hey, Robin, how are you?
I'm good. I'm good. First of all, thank you both, Dylan and Greg. I'm super excited to be here today.
Totally. So, just maybe give the audience a 2 minute, 2 to 3 minute elevator speech on who you are, what you're up to, and then we'll go from there, maybe.
For sure. So, as Dylan said, I'm Robin Hardrick. I'm actually the founder of the Hardrick Museum. I create digital art using artificial intelligence. And my company has recently moved into taking that same digital art that we've created and now transferring it to clothes, thus creating a wearable art clothing line movement.
Very cool. And so, you're using AI art. Tell us a little bit more about what that means as far as the process. What is it? What does it actually mean to use AI to make art?
Yeah, for sure. So my brother and I, Damian Harris, he actually goes by King Damian Lewis. He is my partner in this venture. And so what we do, he and I have both been creating art now for about 3 years. We actually started during COVID. I fancied myself a day trader, and I was trading. Um I blew up a couple of accounts, and but the silver lining is when I was doing some research, I saw that Christie had successfully auctioned off a Beeple NFT collection called 5,000 Days. And that was back in 2021, and that went for $69 million. So of course I was super excited about that, and I was so fascinated by it. I allowed myself to go down this rabbit hole of research into the world of NFTs, which eventually led me to AI art. And I was just completely floored to learn about the advancements of machine learning, where you could actually text prompt to photo, and you just kind of decide what it is you want to see. And then you put those words into a machine. It'll use an algorithm to create exactly what kind of like an image of what you have in your mind. For me, that was just completely fascinating that I could create art that way. So we just started experimenting with it. And it, again, like I said, this has been 3 years. And 3 years later, we've gone from, while we are still making art, we're now transferring that art to clothes through a process called sublimation printing.
So you were really early because this craze has really caught on within the
Yes.
past couple of months. You've been active very long, so you've been an early adopter. And tell us a little bit more about what it means. So you're prompting images, and
Hmm.
what is your advantage over someone else when it comes to making art? I think the common criticism is, okay, anybody can type in some words and make something that looks kind of cool. But when you start to review what people are making, there's a clear difference in quality or attention to detail from each person, but each person is doing something different, right? And so
Hmm.
tell us how do you answer that question about, or maybe it's a criticism
Hmm.
that it's just not the same because it's typing instead of painting.
Well, the way I answer that criticism is then they should do it so that they can see for themselves, right? And I say that confidently because everything that we created was not good. Like, we started during COVID where I could work from home. So a lot of the stuff that we created in the beginning was just complete trash, and it was okay because it was fun, right? It wasn't meant to make money. It was meant to find another way to release, like, the time that, to use up a lot of the time that we had. And again, it was just enjoyable. And then somewhere down the line, we just kept doing it and kept doing it. And not almost like a little obsessive because we were so determined to crack the code, and we did. And we ended up creating our own algorithm within an algorithm, to the point where it's almost automatic. We know exactly what to say, exactly which words to use to just maximize the output of what we're creating. I encourage people to try it, because it's just fun. It's a stress reliever. And so I actually encourage people try it and have your hand in it. But I'm telling you, it's not as easy as it seems. But you should definitely try it and see for yourself. I would never discourage anyone from that.
Yeah, I think one of the things that I like to compare it to is the advancement of photography
Right.
compared to people doing portraits and stuff, where everybody's like, oh, anybody can take a picture, anybody can grab, nowadays, everybody can grab your phone and take a picture, but to actually make something good and repeatable and having a style,
Right.
that's what you have to develop. And that's kind of what I like to compare AI art to, at least right now, is that it's really about developing your own style and how do you make that and what do you do on top of just doing the prompt. I guess that's kind of my next question too, is what else do you do after you get that raw input from the program? Do you do any sort of enhancements or anything else on other programs?
I do. Depending on the output that I receive, I will use Photoshop just to clean it up a bit, clean up some of my edges, clean up maybe some of the images that I don't want. Because that's the thing with AI is you know what you put in the prompt. You don't necessarily know everything exactly what you're going to get back. So sometimes, and that's the reason why I said everything isn't perfect. And in the beginning, a lot of the work we did was just like, what is this? But we have gotten to a place of I'm just a creative anyway. So I know how to use Photoshop and Illustrator. Like 20 years ago, I would know that dates me.
Well, I
Like,
think what's great about that is you hit on something important because there was this paradigm shift with the advent of Photoshop. A
yeah,
lot of art did become digital, and now that we've been a while since that has happened, several decades, right? We don't even question really the digital art is art. But then it's
right.
this new thing where it's a new version of that. I think it's an iteration on that concept of what is art. Well, if somebody's expressing themselves uniquely to generate a reaction, a unique reaction, or just a thought provoking piece using this technology, is it not art? I mean, the same person could type the same thing in, but it's not going to show it when you're iterating over and over and over. It's not going to be the same output. So I think that really hits on, at least in my mind, once I started thinking it like that, it really hit on this concept of art. So for me, it's been really fascinating to watch. Robin, you've been working on this and you got the exhibit. You've actually been taking your output and setting up galleries
Right.
where you're advertising it. And most people tell us, I mean, do people, when they come to your galleries and you have a physical representation of the pictures,
Yes.
do people know before they get there that it's how this is made, or do they just assume that you're a conventional artist?
So they assume that it's just completely digital art, which technically it is. It depends. Like some of the guests that come because they have history with me, they know I've used AI. Some of them do not. One of the cool things that we do is, again, with our exhibitions, for example, even with Nordstrom, we always do it in person. And with the in person, we do a 4 hour in person where we just take the time to talk to the visitors and the guests about AI and let them know exactly what we're doing. We did have some really cool feedback at the Nordstrom Black History Month exhibit here in Chicago, where a person wanted to purchase a piece of the artwork, but they wanted the original. And it literally took us about 3 or 4 minutes to get down to what the gentleman was saying. And I was like, yeah, you want me to print it again? And he's like, no, no, I want the one that you hand painted. And I was like, oh, so a part of me felt a little bit of oh man, like, and then I told him, I was like, there is no hand painting. I was like, this is it. But then that floored him. He was like, but it has the lines in it. It looks like you literally took, and I was like, yeah, I created it to look like that. And so that what I just said is a part of that answers a bit of the previous question that you asked. Well, what sets you apart? And when people say, oh, that's easy, anyone can do it. Well, the fact that I knew to include the words to make it look like an actual painting, that someone who has a trained eye can see my work and automatically assume that this has to be an original painting. There has to be an original that you used to create this digital from. And it's like, no, sir, this is the original. And that I did sell a print of that particular one, by the way. So
Wow,
yeah, that was
awesome.
pretty cool.
Yeah, so you're taking inspiration from other artists, and you
Hmm.
use that inspiration. In some of your exhibits, you're going for a certain theme, and so it could be influenced, but not necessarily a copy, right?
Right.
You're very transparent about your influences. So tell us what influences and what inspires your designs.
You know what? I was about to touch on this a little bit earlier. I've always been a creative. Maybe about a decade ago. If you talked to me a decade ago, I was making beats and doing music. I had a full studio. I used to host brunches, these swanky brunches here in Chicago. And then like I said, during COVID, I started trading a little bit and then I really got into NFTs and so what goes into it is just like life. I am world traveled. Enjoy having different experiences, and I'm a fan of beauty. So I just come up with different things. You know what it is? Everything that you type is really an expression of the world that you would like to see. So I just create the images and I do my best to put the energy out into the world to help create the world that I want to be a part of and a world that I want to see.
So what do you use to make your art? What have you experimented with? How did you discover the tool that you're using, the tools? Walk us through like your workflow and how
Right.
you design this.
One of the things that my brother and I do and how we experiment, initially when we started creating art, we actually just started with playing around with photos that we had, like just photos that we would take from our trips and, just walking through the neighborhood. And then we just put a crap ton of filters on those, right? We experimented a lot with glitch art, which is actually making us a surgeons now. So we have a bunch of that work, but we had put it to the back burner because I was like, it's okay. Like, but the reason why I gave you that background is um, from that, we moved into working with Starry AI, Mid Journey, and Dolly. And so the cool thing about those is because, of course, as more and more availability and apps came online or opportunities, it was, well, let's see what this one is doing. And let's see what that app is doing. And then with Starry AI, you can actually upload a photo. So I would create something in Mid Journey or Dolly and then upload it into Starry AI just to see what I would get. And so that's how we would come up with, or how we are continuing to come up with so many of these cool designs that we have, because it's not just Mid Journey or not just Dolly. I'm actually fusing two or three different apps to create these things.
Yeah, I think that's cool. It's kind of, you're taking it that next step. You're not just doing you're doing that
Right.
first iteration and then taking it to another iteration and then even editing it further to make it something that really, it's not just that raw output that you're getting, but it's actually
Right.
your work that you've created.
And that's how you really love something, because my brother and I we were actually just talking about this the other day. The best part of this is is creating. But that only takes so long. Like, the best part of it is I am the first one to see it. And for me, that is so amazing. No one else in the world has seen this but me. That is the most amazing feeling ever. But then that's fleeting, because we've done it often. We've done it so much. We know, and we're good critics of our own work. We know what looks good, what doesn't, and if we don't, we criticize each other, right? Like, dude, this is trash. But that is the best part of it, and that moment is fleeting. It is, so which means that what we're doing right now had to be bigger than ourselves, and it became a, wait a minute, this is the future, and we have this really cool opportunity to be a part of this, right? We were around like when the .com bust happened, right? And I was like, we're talking web3, we're talking NFTs, we're talking machine learning. It's not going anywhere. Right now there are some people, like you mentioned earlier, who there are critics of it, and that's okay. But the truth is that, like I said, machine learning isn't going anywhere, because all it's doing is correcting itself. It's getting better and better and better. And eventually people will just live with it. And that's what excites me. I accept the critics, I hear them, but we keep moving forward because we know that's the direction that the world is going in. And when you look at the art, it's beautiful. Like, you can dislike how we create it, but you can't deny what you're seeing. You can't say, "Oh no, and it doesn't look good." No, it looks amazing. You just don't like how I made it, and that's okay. And eventually, over
Yeah.
time, it'll come.
Yeah, it's not going anywhere.
Right.
And there will still be people who paint
Mm-hmm.
and do things artistically. This is just another version of it. And perhaps in a world, if much of the art that we see it becomes AI generated, there will still be this appreciation, I think, for traditional measures.
For sure. And I'll give you a prime example. So I have a very good friend of mine, Sam Kirk. She's a multidisciplinary artist. Sam is completely badass. Can I say that? Is that cool? Okay.
Oh yeah.
Like, she's awesome. When I had my exhibit up at South Space, it was on the University of Chicago campus, I asked Sam to come and help me, and she did. And we had a whole discussion about AI art and how it affects her. She's been working, she's been at this for 12 years now. And she actually was commissioned to do work by Disney. And she still worked with me, an AI artist, because for two reasons. One, like she said, she understands it's the future. And then two, on my end, I recognize that Disney, what they commissioned her to do, I can try, right? I can go in there and put some prompts in and hand it to them, but they might be looking for something so specific that only she can paint, that only she can create that. She physically has to paint that. And that's where, until I don't AI art is not there yet. And that's not saying it won't get there, but to date it's not there.
Well, I think one of the cool things about that too is someone like a traditional artist could use AI also to
Yes.
enhance their work. It's another tool in the belt. Like, it doesn't have to be the be all end all, but like someone who already has that skill, they could, like you said, they could put in their art
Right.
to these programs and have the AI iterate on it and do different stuff with it and just really supercharge their own art themselves. Like, and that's, I think, something that a lot of these artists are going to have to do in order
Right.
to keep up with the advances in AI.
She's a photographer. That's what she's doing. So once she found out what how we were creating art, she was like, "Oh, okay, I'll try it out." And so she took some of her photography and uploaded, and now she loves it. Like you say, it's an enhancement. It's a tool. That's all.
Yeah, I could see a world where you have an entire department of people. You have maybe a couple of artists generating the initial concepts, and then
Right.
you have a team of some people processing that, creating a bunch of output for animation or design work. So I think like the commercial purposes, the commercial use cases, you could have a lot of output for a cheaper input, but still maintain the core integrity of the initial the concept of whatever's trying to be achieved.
Mm-hmm.
I want to take some time to talk about your recent exhibit. On your website, people can check out your exhibit. If you could maybe introduce it and tee it up, and then we can go through a couple of pieces from each of the different sub exhibits, if you will, of that event. So what was this Nordstrom event that you had in February? And then if you want to maybe tee up the first set of images we'll look at.
For sure. So first of all, if I'm going to say anything, the first thing I want to say is a thank you to Nordstrom Chicago, the Michigan Avenue store, just for opening up their space to the Hardrick Museum twice now. Last year during Juneteenth, and then this year for all of Black History Month. That sort of exposure, right, is just, I can't begin to say thank you. There aren't enough words to express how grateful and thankful we are. And so my brother and I, we were presented with an opportunity to supply programming for all 4 floors at Nordstrom, which was just the very first time we were there. We only did the first floor. And I assumed that that's what they were asking for again. And they were like, "No, can you put art on all 4 floors?" So I really I was so excited. I wanted to maximize that opportunity and just maximize the exposure. And I decided to create 4 separate exhibitions, one for each floor. because I really just wanted to showcase our versatility. And so a question that you had asked previously is, what's the workflow? The output is so quick that it's easy to get, not, I almost want to say bored. You have to keep challenging yourself. And with that being said, we have so much work in so many different themes. So we were just blessed to have the opportunity to have 4 floors where we could create 4 separate themes. And for example, on the first floor, we displayed what we called cosmic visions. Cosmic Visions was this complete outer space celestial display that my brother did. So we separated the floors. He actually worked on floors 1 and 3, and I programmed floors 2 and 4. This is my favorite piece of his. And this the reason why this piece means so much to me is because when I saw it, I said it would look amazing on clothes. And that piece right there is actually what prompted the wearable art line. I just could see a kid with that jacket on. I could see a kid in school with a book bag on. And then I am just a research-aholic. And so then I just once again went down a rabbit hole and started researching, well, how can I transfer this to clothes? And what I didn't want to do was just take that photo and put it as a square in the middle of the shirt or on the back of the shirt. I literally wanted that photo to be transformed to the entire piece of clothing. And again, I was able to do that process called sublimation printing.
Awesome. And this is what your sublimation looks like, right?
Yes. So if you remember the photo you just saw, this is it. I literally am able to take that photo and transfer it onto this backpack. And I mean, it's beautiful. And kids love it. So, and the reason why I know it, because like I mentioned, we usually do a 4-hour in-person while we're there. And I'm telling you, it's the flashing lights. It is seeing people take out their phone and they start taking pictures, or they'll actually take a picture with the artwork. And the cool thing about it, it makes me feel like I'm not in the picture, but I am in the picture because it's our artwork. So that is
Yeah.
the best
Cool.
feeling ever to see, because you have some people, they'll look and they'll just they'll walk by, and then other folks, they'll look and you'll see them nod like, oh, okay, that's nice. But when they pull out the phones, that's when I know, like, that's the feeling that you want. That is what makes it worth it, that someone else saw what you created and they had the same feeling of what you had when you first saw it.
That's so cool. I
Yeah.
wish I could have done that. And the next one, you have the reciprocated love exhibit.
For sure. So the second floor I programmed, and it was neon hearts and graffiti. And the funny thing about this particular showcase is we were already prepping to start selling Valentine's Day merch, right? So we had decided, hey, we're going to do something for February. Let's make it all about love and make it about Valentine's Day. And then Nordstrom came. So this work I had already started and was working on it. I started doing a lot of neon and graffiti work because I just thought it would transfer well onto clothes. So I created that work specifically for the clothes. I created the hearts specifically for Valentine's Day, and it all worked out that everything I created actually looked really good on clothes. I'll be honest, the reciprocated love one, at first I was like, yeah, I don't know. But then you put some of this stuff, you try it out and it looks amazing. So for that one, we sold a jacket, we sold a print, a jacket, and a tote bag. I didn't even have a tote bag created for this one, but one of my coworkers saw it and she was like, "Can I get a bag?" And I was like, "Yeah, actually, yeah, you can. I'll get you a bag." And then I just went home that night. I immediately created, uploaded, and she bought it.
Yeah, it's actually funny. I was looking at your shop, and that was actually the one that really stuck out to me for something for my wife. I thought the bag with the heart on it was really cool looking.
They love it. So people really like that print.
Being on clothes, just it gives it a different dimension and makes it like it doesn't look like the same thing almost when it's on
Right.
the jacket or on the bag compared to the print. And that's really cool because it's almost like it's the same art, but it
Mhm.
looks so much different when it's on that kind of a 3D surface like that.
Right. And there is you do some design work to create the art, right? There is some work that goes into that. And that's the cool thing about all of this is the clothing is so new to me. I had absolutely no idea what went into this. But if you have a passion about something, it's crazy how life happens. You figure it out. And so what happened was I initially started putting the work on there. I had some samples made. They looked okay. And then I realized how I could go in and redesign and move them around to make them match up perfectly. So that outer space book bag, I've had that printed twice now. The first time I had it printed, and it was so funny. I put it in an exhibit and I was so proud of that piece. The lining was all off, but I did not care. I was like, this is amazing because it's like it's your baby. And then you can get honest about it and was like, you know what? I could have did that better. I could have lined this up better. I could have did this. I could have done that. And you do. And so now that bag is perfect. So yeah, the imagery you have there, that's it. It did not look like that initially. The men were the space guys were all off. They were off centered, but they're perfect now. This is work. This is if you think it's easy, I encourage you to try. But it does. It takes effort, it takes work. It actually takes you wanting to do this. If you don't, you'll easily get bored or frustrated with it and walk away.
The next one, we have the Ode to a King series.
Right.
Tell us about this series and producing this.
Mhm. So, Ode to a King is actually an ode to Basquiat. He is a famous artist. He is known for his iconic style. He uses a lot of crowns in all of his work. And there are a lot of artists who love Basquiat and will mimic his style. I definitely didn't want to make something in the likeness of Basquiat and rip off his style and his iconic features. What I wanted to do, however, was to create something that, like I mentioned, it was a thank you. Any energy that I want to put out in the universe is always positive and love. And so I call that particular exhibit an ode to a king and just said thank you. Thank you for giving us the inspiration for decades now to look at your work and want to create something as amazing as the work of art that he did. So again, when given the opportunity, I definitely wanted to highlight his style of work. And so in that particular one, I had 3 or 4 different Basquiat styles. And this is the one of the sweatshirts. I've sold a couple of those. I sold one to one woman for her birthday, and the other one of someone I know, she has a son in high school. He saw that and he just completely fell in love with it.
So cool. Yeah, this looks great. We have the last one, the fourth 404 here, in the Ancestral Blood series. Tell us a little bit about the story behind this exhibit and what went into this one.
For sure. So the Ancestral Bloodline, A Royal Legacy was the name of this exhibit. It was on the 3rd floor. And we chose to highlight our fine art line with that floor. So initially, we did not create clothes for this one. We just wanted to strictly sell the pieces as fine art. However, one of the employees of Nordstrom, especially since they were an employee there, they loved it. And she actually pulled me to the side and asked me for a particular one if I could create a piece for her. And I told her, yes, I would. So I did, and I sold her a jacket. The reason why I love this work so much is because, one, it's my brother's. He created the whole line. And the funny story behind that is this. We get the exhibit at Nordstrom, and I know he doesn't have anything to put in the exhibit because I am working hard and I'm creating and I'm showing him what I'm doing, and he's showing me nothing. And I'm like, we have 4 floors. Like, what do you have? And the stuff that he's showing me, I was like, what? No, what is this? And so we're like a week out. And he's like, well, I have something in mind. I'm gonna work on something. I'm gonna work on it. I'm like, man, I was like, you know what? You're gonna look up and you're not gonna have anything in this exhibit. And then he comes back a week later with this. I was
Wow.
completely, oh my gosh. And so the cool thing and when I saw it, I actually named this. He was like, well, I did the work. I don't even know what to call it. And I was like, this is an ancestry. I was like, this is Black History Month. I said, this is an imagined ancestral bloodline. This is a royal legacy, and that's what we're going to call it. This particular exhibition actually hosted 8 different prints, and it's literally a family portrait. As you can see, there is a father and son. They almost look like twins. I really love the details that he put into the work. I love the crowns that he used for the work. I love the colors. I love everything about it. And so that is the cool thing about this. Damien and I, we both use the same program. None of our work looks the same. When I see his work, I know it's his. And when he sees mine, he's just like, how did you do that? Well, if anybody can do it, we use the same program. What do you mean how I did it? And that's how this works.
I love that story because you really are a duo. You're
Right.
two, your brother and sister, right? And
Yes.
you play off of each other. It's that creative process that is still here, even though it's AI generated. But the energy that you two combine is being reflected in a unique way here.
Definitely. And then we'll give each other prompts as in, hey, I would like to, this is what I see when I see your work. I like to see it go in this direction. I would like, well, why don't you try this? Or why don't, or, you know, we will just flat out share prompts.
You can have the same prompt, but you're going to come up with different things just because what you see with your eyes and how you go through that prompt is going to be different for each person.
Right. And again, like I said, we've been creating for 3 years now. So I already know certain things that I like and certain things that I would want to see. And then if I see something of his that I like, I can read his prompts and say, okay, let me just extract that portion, add it to this, and then now here's my output.
So awesome. Well, we just went through the exhibit. I wish we could have had everybody go in person because it was really great to see it live on the floor, seeing everybody walking. And the Michigan Avenue Nordstrom flagship is a great store to be set up.
Yes.
One last question before we go, Robin. What's
Mhm.
next for you? I mean, in the next couple of months, are you doing more exhibits? What should we be watching for from Robin and Damien in the next couple of months?
Yeah, so the next couple of months we really want to hammer in on our wearable art. We just think that it's such a huge market for it. I think that I think it's scalable. I think there's room for it to grow. I haven't seen a ton of people doing it, and I just like the way one item, right? The art, the digital art can just open up your world to many different things. So when you say what's next, we'll keep creating art, right? And then the only thing that changes is where we shift our energy and focus. I really would like to get back into where we started, which was NFTs. I would love for that world to blow up. If it does, like it'll be sick because we have over 10,000 images, right? So we can just create. There's so much that we can do with NFTs, with loyalty programs, and all those great things. And we're ready. We have that. And then we can take that same work, like I said, and we can print it, right? If you want it and you love it so much and you want it in your house or in your office, we can do that. Then we can take that same work and you can actually walk up the street and be a walking art exhibit because it is art transferred onto clothes. So we just want to, what's next for us is coming into folks' homes in their lives and actually having them wear our art and just really being a name that households know for our quality and for our vision. And I just want people to always wonder, wow, what are they going to do next? What do these kids have up their sleeves next? And just be excited about us and the brand because we're excited to bring it to you all.
Yeah, I think it's going to be great. I mean, the technology is evolving quick. The unique ways people are using it to sell items, to express themselves, to really foster art. Robin, this has been a pleasure. We'll definitely be giving more updates over the next couple of months to highlight this work you're doing.
Pleasure is all mine, and I can't thank you all enough. Just these sorts of opportunities are just so amazing, you know, for a small company like ours. Like I said, is built on fascination and just love and respect for art. And then now you find yourself like having a platform and can reach people and have these sorts of conversations. And so we just look forward to doing more of this, you know, telling people more about AI, about machine learning, about Web3. And we just look forward to continuing to create and evolving our style and seeing how far we can go with it. So thank you, Greg, thank you, Dylan. I am so appreciative of this, and like I said, I look forward to doing more of these.
We look forward to it too.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks for coming on, Robin.
Thank you.